Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are in beautiful Paradise Valley, Arizona, at the home of Dr. Ian Grant-Whyte. Ian has just written a book titled A Dyslexic Doc's Memoirs. Ian, good morning.
Good morning, Jim. I appreciate you coming on this lovely Sunday. Jim, before we sort of get cracking with this interrogation, I would like to just remind you that what we are talking about took place 60 to 70 years ago. Bill Gates wasn't even a glint in his father's eye. The word computer didn't exist. The word dyslexia didn't exist, and if it did exist, nobody knew what it meant. Just a couple of things that I'd like to mention. Very important things. If you feel a child is dyslexic, please contact Susan Barton, www.brightsolutions.us. She is an absolute authority on dyslexia, and you will be well advised to go and make contact with Susan. Before we sort of get into the nitty-gritty, there is a wonderful family secret recipe for shortbread, and I think your wife might enjoy it.
You're giving up the family secret.
Yes, of course I'm giving up the family secret. Right. The other thing, old chap, is if you are misguided enough to want to buy this book, you'd get it more quickly if you go to the actual bookstore itself rather than to order online.
Okay.
But you can order online. And the other thing you'll be delighted to hear, that the Anglo-Saxon, the four-lettered Anglo-Saxon word that I know you don't like because you're a Puritan.
Of course I am.
That begins with an F, only occurs twice in the 224 pages in this book. Now, the first time it occurs is when my beautiful wife Lisa told me I was a lousy Now, the other thing is the second time it occurs is when I told Lisa I didn't realize I was a lousy So, over to you, Macduff. Lead on.
That's quite a segue, Ian. Thank you very much. Let's start from the beginning. Suppose you explain to us, what is dyslexia?
Dyslexia is an extremely common condition that involves basically difficulty reading, writing, and spelling. It is a condition that you're born with. It's a genetic situation where there are anomalous chromosomes and genetic brain wiring involved. The condition occurs in many bright and brilliant sort of people who've done very well in this world. In my case, I don't know how well I've done in this world, but in actual fact, I managed to graduate from Cambridge not being able to read. Nobody's going to believe the fact that I couldn't read, but believe me, I couldn't read, and you'll understand why a little later on. So my secret was Windows 36, which we'll allude to later on. I was born left-handed, and my parents changed me into a right-handed individual, which of course really screwed up my brain wiring, which was anomalous as it was, and then I involved in mirror writing, which was reversal of letters and also numbers. In other words, a 7 wasn't like this, it was like this. So this was my problem when I entered junior school in 1936.
How did you correct your mirror writing?
The question of mirror writing and reversal of letters and numbers was corrected because my reading teacher, a little squirt of a man, used to wear bow ties, little moustache. Mr. Lewin thought I was disrupting his reading classes because I just couldn't read. So he'd punish me with 500 words, 500 lines, never mind words, of copybook. So I was having to copy over and over and over again, and that's how I finally learned to write after a fashion. I still have difficulty reading my own writing, but that's beside the point.
What is Windows 36?
I only realized what Windows 36 was many years later. In fact, I coined the expression Windows 36 when I started writing my book about a year ago. Windows 36 are my eyes, the conduit to my brain, dyslexic though it may be. And that is how I would copy, writing down laboriously, one word at a time, my eyes constantly going from right to left. The word, I would then copy it, I then photograph it, and then I'd paste it in my memory bank. And that's how later I could produce it word by word, word for word in my examinations, because I'd gone through all the questions for the last 10 years. These questions repeat themselves. So when I went in, it was like me taking my textbook into the examination. Not only was I taking my textbook into the examination, but in actual fact, it sounded as though I had written the textbook.
So you weren't actually reading these things. You were actually taking a photograph.
Photographing.
Pasting that page
Absolutely.
in there.
The only thing, that's exactly what happened. I was photographing, copying, photographing, and pasting. And these images, and that's what dyslexic do. They think in terms of images.
How did you learn to read at age 41?
Nobody is going to believe this. But
Nobody is going to believe this.
No, nobody's going to believe
You're
this.
You're a doctor.
I'm a doctor. A good doctor. So people tell me sometimes. In 1971, I was 41 years of age, and I attended an Evelyn Wood speed reading course in Montreal, Sherbrooke Street West, Embassy Suites. When I started that course, if you had been a fly on the wall and seen me stumble through 84 words a minute with absolutely no recall, there would be no doubt in your mind that I could not read. At the end of that course, they taught me to use my finger as a pacer, and this was how I learned to read. Then I was taught to use my right index finger as a pacer. This involved my right index finger traveling from left to right just below the print on the line, my eyes following my finger and thus preventing my eyes from returning to the word I just read. At the end of the course, I was reading 500 words a minute with excellent recall.
And what's this time frame? We're talking about one single lesson.
No, it was 3 lessons. That was the first lesson when I was stumbling over 84 words a minute, and then finally, at the end of the course, using my finger as a pacer, following my eyes following from left to right, I was able to read 500 words a minute with excellent recall.
From 80 words a minute up to 500 words a minute.
84 words stumbling. But this wasn't stumbling. This was reading.
That
reading.
Must have been like an epiphany for you.
It was. I mean, if only I had known to do this like in grade school, using my finger as a pacer, it would have been so much easier. Now, dyslexia has never been known to kill anyone, but if you are unfortunate to be walking around with early undiagnosed breast cancer or prostate cancer, what I have to say in this little book may well save your life, because there is some golden advice. Absolutely. Now, Jim, I think we've spoken enough. I'm getting weary. My age is catching up with me, but I thought I'd end with a Zulu lullaby. The Zulu lullaby my late mother, Danoon, used to sing to me when I was just a little boy. So we're talking about a lullaby of 75 years ago. It's a melodic melody, repetitive rhythms, and it's beautiful. It makes me think of my lovely mother, Danoon. Lovely name, too. So here we go. She ends the thing by saying, Lala Gashli, which means sleep peacefully. Hamba Gashli, which means go peacefully.
Lala Gashli.
Lala Gashli, Hamba Gashli.
Hamba Gashli.
Go peacefully. Tina Soma Bili, So Tata Indunduma, Tina Soma Bili, Tina Soma Bili, Tina Soma Bili. Nearly put myself to sleep.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Jim, what do you know, boy? I told you we'd have some fun.
Ian, thank you.
Hey, listen, read that book carefully, because there's a lot of advice that I think you should hearken to.
Well, I will, and I think everybody else should as well.
Yeah. Now look, Mac, you're looking very intelligent for a change. You are a dandy Denmont Terrier, a breed that is becoming obsolete because of their obstinance and stupidity. Nobody's going to believe you, and nobody's going to believe me that I couldn't read either, so there are two of us who are going to be just unbelievable.